There's like a million different oils nowadays, and we don't know which one to cook with. People ask me all the time, which oil should I be cooking my chicken in? Which oil should I be frying with? And the thing is, there actually is a proper formula for that. And I want to explain the difference between some of these fats and how you can choose the right one for your given situation or your given cooking need. But I also want to explain the health benefits of different oils and how they differ from oil to oil. There's going to be two things that I really want to focus on in this video. First one is the smoke point. We want to talk about at what point an oil starts to burn or smoke, because when that happens, it alters the structure of that fat, sometimes releasing free radicals that can be extremely toxic to the human body when ingested, but also when inhaled from the fumes. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about that omega-3 to omega-6 ratio and the kinds of fats that a certain fat may be, a certain oil may be, like say a monounsaturated or a polyunsaturated or a saturated or a trans fat. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on those. But let's dive right into what oils you can use for a specific need. I'm going to start with frying and sautéing. So whenever you're going to deep fry something or sauté something, you want to use an oil that has a high smoke point. Obviously, you're going to be cooking at a very high temperature, so you don't want to start altering the state of that fat. So I recommend using sesame oil, peanut oil, or avocado oil. And of the three, I recommend choosing avocado oil because it's going to have the least inflammatory response when it relates to general antibodies within the body. You see, sesame and peanuts, well, you've got legumes and you've got a seed, which can sometimes trigger an inflammatory response. So err on the side of caution and go with avocado oil, even though it's a little bit more expensive. Now, if you're sauteing, you can use the aforementioned oils, but you can also use coconut oil. You see, coconut oil has a pretty high smoke point, not quite as high as sesame, peanut, and avocado, but if you're sauteing, you're at a little bit of a lower temperature so you can get away with it. You're not going to want to deep fry or anything like that with coconut oil. So now let's move on to some other uses of oils. Let's talk about some of the monounsaturated. The first one I want to talk about is going to be flaxseed oil. Totally unrefined flaxseed oil has a high ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids, which means that it's very anti-inflammatory. You see, in the Western world, we want to get as much in the way of omega-3 fatty acids as we can because we don't generally get them from the diet. And omega-3 fatty acids are pretty strongly correlated with low levels of inflammatory markers. So by eating unrefined flax oil, you can start contributing to the positive impact of the omega-3s within the body. Now do note that flax is a form of omega-3 called ALA, which is not as usable by the body as say fish oil is, but it's still a step in the right direction. And it's easy to cook with, it's easy to bake with, it's also easy just to simply supplement with. Now the next one I want to talk about, I've done videos on this, is macadamia nut oil. It has an amazing taste and it's an 80% monounsaturated fat, which means it's one of the healthiest kinds of fats that you can get. It's got a pretty low smoke point, so you don't want to be heating at a really high temperature, but it also has a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6, which is the ideal ratio for the human body. So that nutty flavor makes it really good for baking with. So if you're going to bake some muffins, maybe you're baking some gluten-free cookies or something like that, it's good to cook with about 325 degrees before it starts to alter the structure there. Now, additionally, we have olive oil. Olive oil is not all it's cracked up to be. See, olive oil has a little bit higher of an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, but it's also not as easily assimilated by the body. So when you're leaning towards a monounsaturated fat, try to go for something like the macadamia nut oil. Now we've got coconut oil that's kind of in a world of its own. You can totally bake with coconut oil, you can saute with coconut oil, or you can flat out take a bite of coconut oil. I put coconut oil on my veggies. The reason I do that is because coconut oil is readily available for energy. As soon as you take it in, those medium chain triglycerides are utilized as energy. It doesn't have an additional metabolic process by the liver like other fats do. And although coconut oil is a saturated fat, it's processed differently by the body. It's not like a trans fat which has been hydrogenated. Now, interestingly enough, the Journal of Clinical Nutrition did a 16-week weight loss study where they took a large group of test subjects, put them through a weight loss regimen. Those that consumed MCT oils by way of coconut oil lost markedly more weight and had a lower waist to hip ratio than those who didn't. So there is a pretty strong correlation. Now, although that's just one study, there are multiple other studies that still kind of came to the same consensus. So when in doubt, coconut oil is a great snack to choose from. So just to recap, my 3 favorite oils that you can use. Coconut oil for sauteing or simply snacking or maybe putting on a little bit of toast or something in the morning instead of butter. Then we've got macadamia nut oil as your monounsaturated oil of choice. So this is going to be used as a salad dressing or maybe in some baked goods. And then when it comes to sautéing and frying, you're gonna go for that avocado oil. So those are my 3 top oils for eating and cooking. As always, keep it locked in here on my videos, and I will teach you more about manipulating your body with the right fats. I'll see you soon.